technology reshapes Nigeria's financial ecosystem, new threats emerges just as fast. Creditregistry, Nigeria's premium credit bureau, is here, live at Acaebin's annual conference, having the right conversation on exploring ways to stay ahead of these risks, eventually securing the future of finance. Come along.
I'm Dr. Jamila Sharif Ayadun, the Managing Director and CEO of Creditregistry, and I'm really excited to be here today. We're at the Compliance Auditor Executives, their annual retreat, and it's really a great opportunity to speak at the level of where they are when it comes about compliance for the various financial institutions that they're responsible for.
Let me go to Dr. Jamila quickly. Now, this has to do with fintech partnerships and open ecosystems. The question I'd like to ask is, what governance gaps commonly arise in bank fintech partnerships from your experience?
All right, thank you. Everybody can hear me okay as well? Thank you so much for allowing me to have the opportunity to come and speak with you today. I run Creditregistry. So Creditregistry, we are the pioneer credit bureau in the industry, the gold standard when it comes to credit reporting. And many of the lenders, I would say all of the lenders in this room are customers of ours. So we want to, first of all, thank you for that. But I think when it comes to, and by the way, my background, it's kind of all over the place as well. I'm an engineer by trade. Started in engineering, worked with General Motors, and then for about 10 years moved to Microsoft, worked all over the world with them for about 7 years, and then kind of went into the money space. So I went back to school, and got my PhD in credit management, and now I'm a money doctor. So I think I love this area of what I do. So I think that it's so fundamental when you talk about, governance and the gap when it comes to banks and fintechs. You have seen the transformation really in the industry where lenders, bankers, traditional commercial banks are now partnering very closely with the fintechs. And I think that one of the things that we have to realize, because I sit on both sides of that fence, is the blind trust. We have to really pull back the covers and make sure that the decisions that are being made, especially by the time it gets to compliance, that those decisions aren't just based off of, okay, well, it's a system now talking to a system. We kind of need to not only look at the results, but the ingredients behind what's happening. And I think kind of what my colleague has even mentioned here is that, you know, the organograms today are not only people. They literally have agents in between, people who are now managing groups of bots and things to that effect. And these fintechs are growing in that speed of light. And as a traditional bank, you know, one of the things we have to certainly make sure that we realize is that the systems and the businesses that we're connecting to, we have to understand how they're actually getting their decisions. What kind of data are they using? And I believe that from a governance perspective, we have to begin to really, I'm gonna really just give like 2 questions that maybe a compliance officer, a compliance team, especially at the CAE level, need to begin to think about is like, what exactly are we feeding the machine that is connecting to our credit systems, right? So what kind of data is coming in? And is that data static or dynamic? So some of the things that you know, the fintechs that we're notoriously are doing is growing alternative data sources. And that may look great from the outside, but when you start looking deeply into it, is it really the right thing in order to bet your bank on? So when you start looking at social media data, you're hearing about, you know, the use of that. You're hearing about the use of course, telco data is another huge one as well. So I think it's a combination of looking at the various types of data sources, but also realizing that there's some reliable data sources that are tried and true, that have been able to really grow developed economies very well. And so I think that one of the things compliance officers need to certainly look into is making sure that they're looking deeply into the ingredients behind the partnerships and not just the results of the fast-moving, systems, but also the data that's running those systems. So yes.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Jamila. I think I'll just have a follow-on question, right? You mentioned compliance in all of this. Can we say from your own experience that the governance in place for bank fintech partnerships is robust enough, or we still have a lot to do, in the industry?
I think there's still a lot to do. There is. The nature of the industry that we are currently now a part of is moving so fast. And the consumers that we're doing business with are expecting results instantly. They're being fed that, hey, you come in, put this in, and in 3 minutes, 5 minutes, you'll get money and things to that effect. So in a matter of trying to live up to those expectations, oftentimes we overlook all of the governance steps and processes that that have been used in the past in our manual processes and bypassing some of that. So we have to realize, that we still have to take all of the right due diligence and steps in order to make sure that we're not building a credit crisis in the process. And so while all of that can be automated and things to that effect, it still requires someone to certainly take a step back and look at, like I said, look at the ingredients along the path. What is actually going into making the decisions and not just the results of the output all the time. So yeah, so that's incredibly important.
Thank you. Brilliant. Please, a round of applause for Dr. Jamila. Summary of what you've said so far, due diligence, ensure that whatever is coming into your system is reviewed, so that there are no issues in the future. Thank you very much.
With leaders, innovators, and institutions like Credit Registry driving accountability and trust, we are not reacting to change. We are shaping what comes next.
My question is that where does the internal audit function and compliance often struggle to keep pace in all these journeys of trying to, facilitate partnership between banks and fields? So where does the internal audit function and compliance, where do they often struggle to keep pace?
Okay, thank you. So from my experience, and I work with a number of fintechs, I'm the vice president of the Fintech Association as well. And where I see some of the challenges and what I believe can be done in order to kind of address some of those challenges is around the fact where there's more like intimidation of all of this technology coming out here, right? And I'm also, on that side of the fence as well. I think, while a lot of it is a black box, we have to realize that, we're getting systems and they just say you press this button, this thing happens, right? These systems, I believe that we have to take a little bit more effort into trying to understand what is going into them. And there's some great tools that I think that are right at the fingertips of auditors that can be used. A lot of these systems that are being delivered and created for us are reliant upon data and the data sources. And a lot of times, instead of just having, an audit report that comes back, and let's just use an example, comes back saying that this is how much money has been lost as a result of, of the decisions made. Those kinds of reports are more of an autopsy, right? It's like the deed has been done. I believe that auditors have the opportunity to use sources like numerous AI. That's a great tool where you can use your data sources, input those data sources into something like numerous AI, and it's very easy to use right in an Excel format. And you can give it instructions. You can literally talk to it and give it an instruction with the data set and say, predict what can happen, right? By being able to identify what are some of the probable outcomes, you can now be able to preempt those things. So now having an audit report that actually tells you that, hey, by doing this, we can prevent a loss of these types of loans and things to that effect. You're now becoming more of a lifesaver instead of delivering autopsies, right? So I think that it's so important that we embrace the technology, we utilize it, we are able to give instructions and predict different outcomes and be able to use that to now begin to have the decision makers around that prevent certain things from happening. So as an auditor, you need to look at where are the outliers when you stress test it. Look into the no's, look into the failures. That's where you're gonna find the real truth. By continuing to press it, getting a little bit more close to what you really, really want. So that would be my major takeaway, is to stress test the black box, stress test the technology that you're being given that is saying that it's the right answer. And maybe I'll end with just one statement here that maybe you can kind of take this away, is that don't let the technology intimidate you. I think that that's the one big major one there. I think for lenders and definitely for boards of directors, it's important that we give them feedback on where the cost is when it comes to those failures. The biggest thing that a board wants to do is for you to protect their money. Make sure that, we protect the money. So being able to let them know the cost of a wrong decision is going to help them be able to better make, the best decisions for the businesses. And so, take control back of the positions that you're in by making sure we stress test the black boxes. Don't be intimidated by the technology, and then being able to give them what are the best responses when it comes to the cost of a wrong decision that will help lead them into the right direction that you're looking for.
I think what I got mainly from your response was we should look more at predictive outcomes to guide decision makers, and that helps us to avoid any potential threats, bad decisions, as it were. Thank you very much.
So today, honestly, we were able to convey really some of the threats that the compliance officers need to really begin to focus on, especially when it comes to the various partnerships that are happening in the industry. You have commercial lending or commercial banks that are partnering very closely with fintech associations and members of the fintech association. And so as part of that transformation and change into being able to partner and rely on each other, there's some things that need to still certainly be taken into consideration, especially from the compliance auditor's perspective. And some of those areas include making sure that you understand not only the solution or the systems that are being delivered, but the data that is underwriting or writing on a lot of those solutions. So understanding the data is so pivotal. Where that data is coming from, the fact that you're using complete information that's ultimately going to make the output of those decisions that much more reliable. And so that's a huge part of it. And then just staying on top of the technology that is coming forth and changing all the time. So in regards to AI, that's a huge area that compliance officers and compliance executives need to begin to certainly be aware of, and also get their hands dirty and begin to learn about it. Using those tools in order to do their jobs much more efficiently is very, very important.
All the knowledge you have shared today, say thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
As we wrap up, one thing is clear. The future of Nigeria's financial ecosystem largely depends on the risk that we manage today.